Conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everyone. Deep entity. Let me just open the preview. Yeah. So let's go to the create new employee. So here you can see it's the employee form, and here you can add the projects. And when you click on the submit button, we are not only sending employee data, but also we are sending this project data. So that means from the front end, you are getting one single record, which is called as a structure, and also one multiple records, nothing but a internal table. So when you are getting such a data from front end, it will go and call another method called create underscore deep underscore entity. Create underscore deep underscore entity, right? Now to implement the backend part, there are two steps. The first step is we need to create a corresponding deep structure, our own data type in the DPC extension class. So why we need to create our own data type? So let us see the backend part of backend part. So in the backend part, there are two steps. Step number one, create your own data type. So why we need to create our own data type? To save the data. Save means to hold the data, okay? To hold the data coming from front end. So in the front end, the data is coming in the combination of a one row means structure and multiple records of projects, that means internal table. So the structure belongs to the employee entity, whereas the internal table means multiple records belongs to whom? Belongs to the projects entity. Isn't it? So I have shown this in the debug mode that this employee as well as multiple records both are going to the backend. So let's open our backend and create this deep structure. So you may have a question, Rizwan, till now we never created this kind of own data type. So why we need to create our own data type for create underscore deep underscore entity only? The reason is your OData framework is responsible to create either structure or internal table for an entity. For example, when you create an employee entity, so let's say you created an employee entity. On employee entity, the OData framework will create one structure plus one internal table. If you create project entity, for the project entity, it creates a structure and one internal table. So like this, for every entity, your OData framework will create a structure and one internal table. But what is this combination? This combination is structure of employee but internal table of projects. So with such a combination, there is no predefined data type that our OData framework will create. So let me show you the structure and internal tables that are already created and we have used also. So let us see. Let me go to SCGW. So where is our project? Runtime artifacts, DPC extension class. So first I will take you through a get entity method just to show you. Say this is get entity method. Now inside the get entity method, you can see our model provider class has created a data type called TS underscore employee. Is it not? TS underscore employee. So what is this TS underscore employee? It's a structure of employee table. Structure. So how this got created? This got created because you created an entity with the name employee. So when you create an entity with the name employee, it create TS underscore employee, TT underscore employee. So for every entity, employee entity, so it will create one structure TS underscore employee and one internal table that is TT underscore employee. So I will show you TT underscore employee now. So TT means table type. So where the multiple records are written. So now I went into the get underscore entity set method, and here you can see MPC class. So you can see JetCLZZB72 MPC class has created another data type that is TT underscore employee. TT employee, right? So similarly, we have created project entity. I will show you again from the project entity itself. I will show you. So for the project entity, so we define this one. So so this is get entity set method, and you can see TT underscore project. Okay. So similarly in the get entity method, this is get entity set. So since it is get entity set, you have TT underscore employee project. So similarly for get entity, you will have TS underscore project. Okay. So that is the reason till now we never in a situation to create our own data type. We were never in a situation to create our own data type because our OData framework is very much creating this structures, table types automatically basing on the entity that we are creating. But first time we are in a situation to create our own data type. Okay. So why we are creating our own data type? The reason is whenever you are working with a create deep entity scenario, remember, whenever you are working with a create deep entity scenario, you will be sending a structure of means one record of the parent with multiple records of the child. Okay. So that means structure for employee and internal table for project. So with this combination, there is no data type. With this combination, there is no data type. That means, so basically I want PS underscore employee plus PT underscore project. So I need a data type with this combination, which none of our OData framework or none of the method will create. So the first step is to create our own data type to hold the data that is coming all the way from the front end. So let's do that. So to create your own data types, guys, you need to go to the MPC extension class, because MPC takes care of the structural related things. So DPC takes care of data provider logic. Okay, so go to the MPC extension. So here you need to go to the types and define your own data type here. So I'm calling this as TS underscore some name. We'll see. So I'm just going to keep the same name. TS underscore deep structure, something will keep. Okay. TS underscore deep underscore entry. Yeah. So you need to keep this in the public visibility because you are going to use this data type later in your DPC extension class. So click on here, click yes. So to define your own data type, you will be writing types statement in ABAP. So this is for non-ABAPers. So types begin off your own data type, that is your own name of the type, and then it will end with end of your own data type name. Okay, so let me just replace this. So we use the statement called types begin of and end of. Right. So types begin of means start of my data type and end of my data type. Now in between you should have the combination of this employee structure as well as internal table for the project. So employee has, you can open the metadata document once. How many fields employee is having? I think around 10 fields, 10 or 9 fields. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fields it has. So just check employee ID character 6. Yes. Name character 30, designation character 30, skill character 30, so email character 30. So after email, salary, let me keep this salary, Control X. Salary is Z employee salary. Let me see if this is there. Yeah. And after salary, status, which is character 20. So let us write status type char 20. After status, we have rating and date of joining. So rating type int 1 and date of joining as dates. So just count if all the 9 fields are covered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So all these are your employee structure. So till here it is employee structure. So I define the employee structure. Now next is the internal table, that is TT underscore project. So I need to define an internal table. And this particular internal table, when you are defining, so it should match with your navigation property. Okay. See, you in the employee entity itself, we have a navigation property called two projects. So this particular two projects, you need to copy and paste it here. Okay. So why need to give the two projects here? The reason is from the front end, when you are sending the data, So you are keeping all the employee fields, and after employee fields you are keeping two projects, which is the navigation property. Which is the navigation property. To this navigation property you are assigning the array of projects, nothing but internal table. See, array in JavaScript is nothing but internal table in ABAP. You can compare like that. So now these two projects should be a internal table. So that is what I'm going to define. Two projects, type standard table of so TS underscore project is a structure created by the MPC class, so you can use it. So two projects is a standard table of TS underscore project. I already told you TS underscore project is created by the MPC class. So taking that as a reference, we are saying standard table of. So standard table means this becomes internal table. So this is till here it is a structure and this is an internal table. So with this structure plus internal table combination, we created our own data type, and the data type name is TS underscore employee underscore entity. TS underscore employee underscore, sorry, TS underscore deep underscore entity. So this is my own data type name. Now I can use this TS underscore deep underscore entity as my to declare a variable of this data type. So let us activate this. Continue. Right, now let's go back. This is active. Getting activated. Okay, meanwhile, let me explain the step number 2. So now this step number 1 we have completed. Now step number 2 is we will declare a variable ls data, okay, which is of type this particular type that we created in the step number 1. Okay, the deep of type ts underscore deep underscore entity. Okay, so ls underscore data is my own it's a variable of type ts underscore deep underscore entity. So what is ts underscore deep underscore entity? So this is the data type just now I created. So create your own data type. What is the data type? ts underscore deep underscore entity. And read the data by using IO data provider. So this is something which we done already in the normal create entity as well. So in the employee set underscore create entity also we have done. So by using IO data provider, read entry data. So read entry data method. So read entry data method. Importing. So es underscore data equals to ls underscore data. So like this, By using IO-data provider method, we have successfully able to read the data into this LS data. Now this LS data contains employee data as well as this project data both. So what we need to do is this LS data, as I told you, LS data contains all employee data. So if you want employee data, you can straight away say LS data underscore employee ID, LS data underscore employee name, so like this. So this will give all the employee data, and if you want project data, you need to say LS data hyphen 2 projects, isn't it? So you need to say 2 projects. So I think this is active. Let me just open it and check. Yeah, this is active. So LS data hyphen 2 projects, so which is nothing but this one, will contain all project data, all projects data. So since you have your employee data in your hand, you have your projects data in hand, then what are you waiting for? You can simply keep all the employee data in a structure. So keep this entire employee data in a structure and write a query in a structure, and then write a query that is insert your employee table, that is ZB72 underscore employee table from this structure, whatever the structure in which you kept the employee data. So similarly, all the projects data, you save that in a internal table, and insert ZB72 underscore projects, which is your projects table, from this internal table. That's all. So this is the logic for your create underscore deep underscore entity. Did you understood, guys? Step number 1 is to create our own data type. Step number 2 is read the data that is coming from the front end. So the data that is coming from the front end contains your employee data as well as your projects data. Separate employee data into a structure. Separate projects data into an internal table. And insert employee data into the employee table, and insert the project data into the projects table. That's all, guys. Okay, so now let us write the logic in the DPC extension class. So go back and open this DPC extension class to write our logic. So whatever the logic that I explained in the DPC, so whatever the logic that I explained here, same logic we are going to write in DPC extension class method create underscore deep underscore entity. So create underscore deep underscore entity. So you need to set for the method. So this is the method create underscore deep underscore entity. So you need to redefine this method and write the logic. So why we are redefining this method only? Because the front end, so in the front end, when you click on the save button, which method it has called? It has called create underscore deep underscore entity, if you remember from the day before yesterday's class. So you need to write that in the exact method. So select the method and click on redefine. And first thing, so data colon ls underscore data. So I need to define a variable. So let me define the variable of type my ZCL. jetcl underscore zb72 underscore emp underscore dpc underscore not dpc, sorry, mpc underscore extension. So in that we created a data type called ps underscore deep underscore entity. So I have taken the data type. So did you understand this statement? So I defined a variable called ls underscore data, which is of type, the type that we created inside the MPC extension class. So what is the type? ts underscore deep underscore entity. So this type internally contains a structure and internal table. Now I will use this IO data provider, this one, to read the data that is coming all the way from the front end. So IO data provider hyphen read entry data, and you can import that into the standard ES underscore data, from which you can collect into ES underscore data. Now if I keep a debug point at this place and show you, this ls underscore data will contain all the employee data, and in the two projects, so in this particular two projects, you will contain project data as well. So let's keep a debug point and see. So first of all, let's activate this. Yeah, this got activated. So I'm going to keep a debug point. Right. So let me create one new employee. So we already have Amit, Anil, Babji, Deepali. Do we have Deepali? Let us check. So what are the employees so far we have? This is taking this much time. Yeah, it's better I will go back. Yeah, we have Deepali, we have Amit, Anil, Babji. So let me take one more employee from the list, Madhavi. Okay. Right. So employee ID, and let me just take the employee ID 001, 2, 3, then 4, then 5, and this is 6. So name Madhavi, and the designation. So let me give the designation as senior developer. Skill SAP UI5. Email madhavi@gmail.com. Salary as deluxe. Keep 12 lakhs. Status permanent, for example. Rating for date of joining something, and so let me add the projects. So I'll just add two projects. Employee ID, then project code in 01, Madhavi 01, with that meaning I have given. So this is 2, and project name Madhavi project 1, and I will give the same. So you can edit this data later. Project 2, project description. I think the name is wrong. Okay. So client name or phone and NGUK something I have given. Alright guys, so now let us click the submit button and now the debug point will trigger. So let us see. Some error occurred, contact support team. So why? Let's see, anything wrong? Actually, we expected the backend method should get triggered, but it didn't happen. So it's a good chance to see what went wrong. But the debug point should get triggered, right? This is DPC extension class. Is this a external breakpoint? Yes, this is an external breakpoint. Why this debug point didn't? Maybe I think the user is Rizwan, valid for 2 hours. This is the user Rizwan, but I think I logged in with. So here I might have logged in with some other user. That might be the issue. Just a second. So let me go to hanatrialondemand.com. So let me close this. Actually, the debug point didn't trigger. The reason is in the backend I logged in with Rizwan, but in the front end, I think in the destination I have given some other username. So let me go to the destination. So this is destination, and here I have used Sharath. So that's the problem. Okay, so let's use edit and use Rizwan again. Okay, I have saved it. Right, so I need to refresh the Business Application Studio. Now the debug point will trigger. Okay, so let's wait. It will do some background jobs. So after that only we'll get the preview option. Yeah, so now we got the preview application and click on index.html. So now if you trigger, the debug point will definitely get triggered. Yeah, so let's go to the create new employee and the employee ID 100006, name Madhavi. So I need to enter all this data again. Designation, we have written senior developer, right? Skill, we have given SAP UI5. Email madhavi@gmail.com. Salary, we have given 12 lakhs because senior developer status, permanent. So rating 5, date of joining, and I'm adding 2 projects for Madhavi. So employee ID, project code, project name is 01. Let me take this as 02. Project name, project 01, 02. So same thing I'm giving as project description as well, client name. So let's give the client name as Apple, then HP something. Okay. So now again click on the submit button. So and let us see if the debug point triggers or not. Yeah, the debug point has triggered. Now let's go and check what are you getting inside this LS data. So hit F6 to execute this. So I executed this line and I want to see what is this LS data contains. Double click on LS data. So LS data contains your employee ID, name, designation, skill. So, and you can see the values. The values are coming from the front end Madhavi, senior developer. And last but not least, so I want to show you this one actually. So after date of joining, you can clearly see this LS data hyphen 2 projects. So this 2 projects is again an internal table. Is it not? See, LS data hyphen employee ID, name and all. So similarly, LS data hyphen 2 projects. So which is an internal table. So you can clearly see here 2 projects, which is an internal table. Now if you double click on this, so this internal table contains your project data. Okay, so hit F8. Now the logic is very simple. So you have your employee data, separate this employee data into a structure and then insert this employee data into employee table. So you have your project data in LS data hyphen 2 projects, separate that into a separate internal table, and from there you insert the data into the projects table. Okay, so that's it guys. So let us write the remaining logic now. So I'm going to remove this external breakpoint and let me just take this code. So I think we have written till here. So I'm just taking the rest of the code. Now all of you have a look at the this logic, guys. 1 second. I think something got override. Yeah. So first I'm defining a structure for my employee table. So ZB72 underscore employees table. So for that I'm going to define a structure. The structure is ls underscore emp, and I'm going to define an internal table. So this is LT underscore projects. So this internal table is for projects table. So ZB72 underscore projects table. So why I define a structure, why I define an internal table? Because in the logic, I need to keep all employee data into a structure, all projects data into an internal table. So I need a structure, I need an internal table. So this is my structure and this is the internal table. Now in the structure, I'm going to keep all employee data. How? By writing move corresponding LS data into ls underscore emp. Move corresponding LS data. So what it will do from this LS data, so whatever the fields that are matching for employee structure, okay, so ls underscore emp will contains only employee fields, right? So the corresponding employee fields of ls underscore data will go and sit in ls underscore employee. So employee data separated into ls underscore emp. So similarly, move corresponding. So here move corresponding without this also fine, because we are clearly writing ls and ls data hyphen 2 projects. So ls data hyphen 2 projects contains what? Project data, right? So the project data I'm shuffling into lt underscore projects. So what is lt underscore projects? It's an internal table. Okay. So now my data has cleanly separated into a structure and into an internal table. So what are you waiting for? So you can use the insert statement, or you can also use modify statement, my dear friends. So let me delete this. This is not required. So you can use the insert statement to insert the data into the table, or you can use modify statement also to insert the data into the table. For create underscore deep underscore entity method, so we use modify statement because The same method I can use for create scenario as well as update scenario. For non-ABAPers, I just want to explain modify statement. Till now, you know that we use it for update operation. But actually, modify statement can also be used for create operation. So let me tell you how. So what the modify statement will do, it will create a record if it does not exist, and it will update the record if it already exists. So in both the ways it will useful. So that is the reason we use modify statement. So modify my employee table from this structure and modify my projects table from this internal table. That's all. Okay. And according to the OData protocol, whenever a insertion is happened, you need to send the same structure again back to the front end. So that means you need to look for returning data parameter. So is there any returning data parameter here? No returning data parameter exists in the create underscore deep underscore entity method. Okay. There is no returning data parameter, but there is a parameter with the name er underscore deep underscore entity. ER means exporting record underscore deep underscore entity, but this is of type, the type refers to data, which is a generic data. Generic data is nothing but a generic data type. So in such a case, which is not labeled as returning data parameter, so what we need to do is, so we need to use a special statement called copy data to ref. So this is a method provided by the DPC extension class. So this method will take your LS data, so which is the data that you got from the front end, and you need to send the same data as a response to the front end again. So if you remember, we have did this in create entity also. So why we need to do this? This is OData protocol standard. So whenever some insertion happened, the same inserted record or structure, whatever is there, so we need to send that as a response to the front end. Okay. So in a normal methods, so we directly have the returning data parameter. So we assign the data to the returning data parameter. But here we do not have the direct returning data parameter. So we need to call a method called copy data to ref and pass. So this method has this importing data parameter is data. So what you just need to do is you pass this ls data as an importing parameter to this method. That's all. So it automatically converts this into er underscore deep underscore entity, which is this one, and returns the data to the front end. So that's all. Let's activate this. Yeah, this got activated. Now let us see if the data gets inserted or not. So I removed the debug point in the back end. I will keep a debug point in the front end. View 3 controller, and let's keep a debug point inside the success. Inside error also you can keep. Yeah. Now just click the submit button again, and you can see this has went into the success function. That means both Madhavi record as well as her project records. So both got created in the corresponding tables. So let's continue and see whether it is true or not. So let us go back. So this didn't refresh. So let's refresh once. We can write model.refresh statement, guys, to get the refresh automatically. Now we can see the 6th record, that is Madhavi. And when I click on this, so you can see the Madhavi basic data. And when I click this project data, you can see whatever the data we have inserted, the same data we can able to see here. That means this particular deep structure has successfully gone to the backend, and the header data has been separated to the header table, which is employee table, and the line item data has been separated to the line item table. So this is how you need to handle the create underscore deep underscore entity, which is create deep scenario. Okay, right. So in the Monday's class, we are going to start the new topic, and that is handling file attachments. So that is file upload and file download. So in file upload and download also we have two scenarios. One is single file upload, single file download, multiple file uploads. So for both of them we use different UI elements in the front end, but the backend code will be similar. So how to handle this file attachments? So this is what we are going to see from Monday. So for that we'll be adding the profile pictures of the employee. Okay, so at least one of you give me profile picture so that we'll upload on Monday. So your picture is going to appear here. Okay, right. So if you have any question, you can ask me, otherwise you can leave for today. So I'm sorry for today, the class started late, but so just
there is one question here. So you said it is selecting the deep entity method, right? So is there any reason, or we control that? Why it is selecting only particular method?
Because it has, it does not have only employee data. If it has only employee data, it go and call its dedicated method, that is employee set underscore create underscore entity. Create an employee set underscore create underscore entity method will be called only if you are sending employee data alone. You are not sending employee data alone, right? You are also sending some foreign content. So obviously that method will not allow. So these kind of create, these kind of special scenarios, when you have this header line item scenario, so this will go and call your create underscore deep underscore entity. That's how the OData framework has been designed. Okay.
Okay, so if we have the suppose a certifications entity, so that time which method it will select, because that also will have the deep entity and the certificates also have the deep entity, right? So that time how it will be here?
Okay, can you come again? If you have,
now we have employee entity and the projects entity we have, so two entities, two different entities. Now let us assume there is a third entity called certifications. Okay. So in that at that time, so which entity will pick?
Again, same. See, certifications, is it standalone entity or it is related to employee? If it is related to employee, obviously it goes to the create deep entity again. If you are adding, see, I am adding here, we have added projects data, right? So similarly, let's say certification data at the bottom, certification data, again, I can add as many certifications as you have done. So again, you are sending one employee record, multiple project record, and multiple certifications record. So this entirely goes to the create underscore deep underscore entity. And you can segregate.
We have, next to the projects internal table, we will have the certification internal table. That's all, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
For the auto refresh of the screen, where have to put that refresh function?
Okay. So we already did this, if you remember, in view one controller. Yeah. So this statement model.refresh true. So the same statement you can write here. That's all. I already kept it. Okay. So your OData model, you just need to refresh. That's all.
Thanks.
Yeah. I think today we haven't written anything in the front end. So actually, by mistake, I'm downloading, not required. So whatever we have done is totally backend.